Most muscle cars were built to be seen, but a few were built so rarely, so dangerously powerful, that most people never even knew they existed. These are the machines whispered about in garages, hunted by collectors, and now revealed to you, the rarest muscle cars of all time. The 1970 Buick GSX Stage 455 arrived at the very peak of the muscle car age, when Detroit was locked in a bitter race for power and identity. Buick, long known for its quiet elegance, suddenly rolled out a machine that felt like it had been forged from thunder. Beneath its heavy steel hood lived a 455 cubic inch V8, a big block tuned in Stage 1 form to unleash a tide of torque so deep it could twist the pavement. Period tests spoke of more than 500 pound-feet, arriving almost off-idle, the kind of force that made the car surge forward as if pulled by an unseen tide. Its Saturn yellow or Apollo white paint carried bold stripes that seemed to cut through the air even when the engine slept. The hood tachometer quivered with each breath of the carburetor, and the positraction rear end delivered power with a seriousness Buick had rarely shown before. A GSX Stage 1, with the 4-speed manual, could cover the quarter mile in a touch over 13 seconds, and touch roughly 105 miles per hour at the traps, remarkable numbers for a mid-size coupe wrapped in luxury-grade vinyl and thick carpeting. The GSX package was limited to only a few hundred Stage 1 cars, making survivors today genuine treasures. When new, a well-equipped GSX hovered around $4,000, and pristine examples now can climb past $130,000 depending on originality and history. If this kind of legend speaks to you, let American Muscle Soul ride with you by tapping subscribe and staying close as we uncover the rarest machines ever to wear the muscle car crown. The 1969 Ford Mustang Boss 429 was born from Ford's fierce pursuit of NASCAR glory, a machine created not for showroom comfort, but for the raw demands of homologation. Its heart was a race-bred 429 cubic inch V8 with semi-hemispherical chambers, a colossal engine, officially rated at 375 horsepower, and roughly 450 pound-feet of torque. Yet anyone who lived through that era will tell you the truth, quietly whispered in garages. This engine carried far more potential than Ford admitted, and when allowed to breathe freely, it felt like a storm climbing through the revs. Its body wore the familiar fastback lines, but beneath the sheet metal car craft reshaped the car so the massive engine could settle into its bay. The lowered stance, the widened inner fenders, the giant hood scoop, and the all-black interior gave the Boss 429 a presence that felt almost predatory. When new, the price hovered a bit above $5,000, a serious sum for a Mustang. Today, surviving examples in strong condition can climb into the high hundreds of thousands, with documented cars reaching well over 400,000. Collectors still share the story of the Boss 429, once owned by wrestler Bill Goldberg, whose passion for the machine helped revive interest in the model during the early 2000s. If this kind of legend still sparks something in you, tell us what the Boss 429 means to you in the comments below. The 1969 Dodge Coronet RT Hemi Convertible emerged in a moment when Detroit was pushing its full-sized muscle machines to the limits, a time when Dodge wanted something that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the fiercest B-body legends. Beneath its long, straight-edged hood lived the 426 cubic inch Hemi, a dual-carburetor iron block built for violence on command. It carried a factory rating of 425 horsepower and enough torque to make the rear axle twist in protest, delivering a surge that felt heavy and immediate. When given a long, open stretch of highway, a well-tuned Hemi Coronet could climb toward 130 miles per hour, a remarkable figure for a convertible of its era. Its design kept the honest lines of the Coronet, squared and purposeful, with a wide grille and a stance that suggested quiet confidence instead of flashy bravado. Inside, vinyl buckets and a driver-focused dashboard reminded you this was a machine built for motion, not display. production of the RT convertible was already extremely limited, and the handful that left the factory with the Hemi option became near mythical. When new, a well-equipped Hemi convertible could approach $5,000. Today, surviving examples with documented history can rise well into the high hundreds of thousands, depending on originality and condition, cementing the 1969 Coronet RT Hemi convertible as one of the rarest open-top Mopar icons ever to breathe on American pavement. The 1969 Chevrolet Camaro ZL1 was never meant for ordinary streets. It was built through a quiet back channel inside General Motors, a special order meant to place an all-aluminum 427 cubic inch V8 into the light frame of a first-generation Camaro. Its official power rating sat around 430 horsepower, yet the way the engine rushed toward the upper ranges made it feel far more intense, as if the aluminum block shed every ounce of hesitation and turned pure combustion into forward motion. When tuned by racers, the ZL1 gained a reputation for outrunning its own paperwork, climbing into power levels few factory machines could claim. Its appearance remained deceptively simple. No flashy graphics, only the clean lines of the '69 Camaro, with a cowl induction hood and a stance that hinted at something waiting beneath the surface. Inside, vinyl buckets and a business-like dashboard kept the focus on driving. The ZL1 program produced only 69 cars, one of the smallest runs in the entire muscle car era. When new, a ZL1 cost a little above $7,000, an astonishing figure for a compact coupe, driven largely by the price of the aluminum engine itself. Collectors still talk about the early cars ordered by Fred Gibb, the dealer who believed in the project when few others did. His faith created a legend that grew more valuable with each passing decade, turning the ZL1 into one of the rarest and most priceless Camaros ever forged in Detroit. The 1966 Shelby GT350 Paxton Supercharged came to life at a moment when Carroll Shelby was searching for new ways to stretch the limits of a lightweight Mustang. The idea was simple but daring. Take the high-performance 289 cubic inch V8 that already made the GT350 a street threat, and then bolt a Paxton supercharger on top of it. What emerged was a compact fastback that breathed with the urgency of a much larger machine. Power climbed toward the upper 300s, delivered with a whistle and a shove that caught drivers off guard, pulling the car forward in a single long sweep of boosted torque. Its fiberglass hood, its scoop feeding cool air into the blower, the clean fastback body, and the vinyl bucket interior made the car feel raw and focused. This was not built for comfort. It was built for speed. Only a handful of these Paxton-equipped Shelbys ever left the factory, no more than a small handful of units, each one now regarded as a rare artifact from the golden age of American racing spirit. When new, a well-optioned, supercharged GT350 could rise above $4,000. Today, documented survivors often climb into the mid-six-figure range, depending on originality and history, placing them among the most sought-after Shelby machines ever created. If you are still riding with us through these legends, drop a sign in the comments or like this video, so we know you have not lost your appetite for the rarest pieces of American muscle history. The 1970 Plymouth Superbird Hemi 4-speed was born from a bold moment in American racing when Plymouth set out to build a machine that could return Richard Petty to its roster and meet the strict homologation rules of NASCAR. The project demanded an aerodynamic shape unlike anything seen on American streets, and the result was a car that looked less like a muscle machine and more like a missile prepared for battle. When it first appeared in dealer showrooms, a well-optioned Superbird carried a price just above $4,000. In today's world, surviving Hemi cars with clear documentation often rise into the high six-figure range, and may climb toward the million mark depending on originality. Its 426 cubic inch Hemi V8 was the crown jewel of Chrysler engineering, delivering a factory rating of 425 horsepower and close to 500 pound-feet of torque. On the open road, the combination of the Hemi's deep surge and the stability created by its wind tunnel, inspired nose and towering rear wing, allowed the Superbird to approach 150 miles per hour, a number that felt almost unreal for a street-legal machine of its time. The long tapered nose, the enormous rear stabilizer, and the clean B body lines made the Superbird instantly recognizable from any angle. Offered in bright colors like Tor Red, Lemon Twist, and Alpine White, it carried a presence that was impossible to ignore. Today, the Hemi 4-speed variant stands among the rarest creations Plymouth ever released. A true monument to the aerodynamic wars that once shaped American racing history. The 1970 Dodge Challenger Hemi convertible automatic was born as Detroit entered its final great push for unrestrained power. Dodge wanted a flagship for its new E-body line, a machine that could carry the legendary 426 cubic inch Hemi into a form that felt refined yet explosive. The result was a convertible so rare and so potent that it seemed more like a hand-built experiment than a production car. When new, the price hovered near $5,000, a figure that limited buyers but guaranteed exclusivity. Today, the few surviving examples often rise into the seven-figure range, with documented cars climbing toward the top of the collector market. The Hemi itself was a thunderous presence, officially rated at 425 horsepower and close to 500 pound-feet of torque. Paired with the dependable Torque Flight automatic and the heavy-duty Dana rear axle, the car delivered a surge of acceleration that felt immediate and authoritative. On long, empty highways, a well-tuned Hemi convertible could approach nearly 150 miles per hour, the big block pushing against the wind with unwavering confidence. Its design carried the sharp lines of the new Challenger, the long hood, the deep grille, and the wide fenders, giving it a stance that looked both athletic and intimidating. High-impact colors like Go Mango or Plum Crazy only amplified its presence. With only a small handful ever produced in automatic form, the 1970 Hemi convertible remains one of the most elusive and valuable Mopar creations ever released. The 1969 Pontiac Firebird Trans Am convertible 4-speed emerged from a moment when Pontiac was determined to prove that its smallest muscle machine could stand tall against anything Detroit was building. The Trans Am package had just been born, created to echo the spirit of the racing series that shared its name, and by the time the model reached dealerships, it carried a presence far louder than its size suggested. When new, the price hovered a little above $3,000, and today the few surviving convertibles with 4-speed gearboxes often rise into the high hundreds of thousands, driven by their rarity and documented history. Under its long hood lived the 400 cubic inch Ram Air 3V8, a factory-rated engine producing more than 330 horsepower. The power came on with a clean rush, the dual scoop hood feeding cool air to the carburetors as the engine built a deep, confident growl. Paired with the close ratio 4-speed and the heavy-duty rear axle, the car delivered crisp acceleration that made it feel eager in every gear. Its design made it instantly recognizable. The white body with blue striping, the deck spoiler, and the sharp lines gave it a look that felt both athletic and defiant. Only a handful of convertibles were ever produced, and even fewer paired with the 4-speed, making the 1969 Trans Am convertible one of the rarest open-top muscle cars Pontiac ever released. The 1971 Plymouth Cuda Hemi convertible 4-speed was born in the final breath of Detroit's golden horsepower era, just as new regulations and rising insurance costs were forcing the mighty engines into retreat. Plymouth offered the Hemi for one last season, and only a handful of buyers chose to pair it with a convertible body and a close ratio 4-speed. When new, the price hovered in the low $4,000 range, a serious figure that contributed to its incredibly small production run. Today, surviving examples command several $million, with collectors treating the few remaining cars as irreplaceable artifacts. Its 426 cubic inch Hemi V8 delivered a factory-rated 425 horsepower and a wave of torque that seemed to swell from deep inside the block. With dual 4-barrel carburetors feeding the combustion chambers, the engine responded with an urgency few street-legal machines could match. On a long stretch of open pavement, a well-tuned Hemi Cuda could push toward 150 miles per hour, its pistol grip shifter linking each gear with a solid mechanical snap. The design carried the muscular lines of the E-body, the long hood, the wide stance, and the optional shaker scoop rising like a promise of the strength beneath. With only 2 4-speed convertibles ever built, the 1971 Hemi Cuda drop top remains one of the rarest creations in all of American muscle history, a final echo from an age that disappeared far too soon. The 1970 Pontiac GTO Judge Convertible carried the kind of presence that could turn a quiet street into a small stage. Beneath its Enduro nose and its sharp dual headlamps lived the 400 cubic inch Ram Air 3 V8, a power plant tuned to deliver a deep, steady surge of torque and a factory rating that climbed past 360 horsepower. Some examples left the factory with the far rarer Ram Air 4 version of that engine, a high lift cam, and freer breathing heads that push the GTO into territory usually reserved for dedicated track machines. On the open road, the Judge Convertible delivered its strength with a broad wave of power that matched the swagger of its bodywork. The design wore the signature Judge striping across its flanks, a rear spoiler perched above the tail, and the bold colors that made Pontiac stand apart during the high point of the muscle era. Vinyl bucket seats and a driver-focused interior kept the cabin purposeful rather than plush, reminding anyone behind the wheel that this car was built for motion first. When new, a well-optioned Judge Convertible hovered around $4,000. Today, surviving examples with documented history often rise into the high six-figure range, especially those carrying the rare Ram Air 4 option. With only 168 convertibles produced, the 1970 Judge remains one of the most coveted open-top muscle cars Pontiac ever released. These machines remind us how rare engineering, bold ideas, and limited production can turn metal into history. If you enjoyed exploring these legends, make sure to like the video and subscribe to American Muscle Soul so you never miss the next deep dive into classic performance. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more powerful stories from the golden age of American muscle.